Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Yasmina Greco. I'm with O'Reilly Media, and I will be your host for today's webcast. Today, folks, we have Microsoft MVP Mike Halsey, and he's going to be talking to you about being productive with Windows 8. Mike is the author of the best-selling Windows 8 Out-of-the-Box book, as well as the best-selling Troubleshooting Windows 7 Inside Out. We are very excited to have Mike with us today to present this webcast for you all. As we get things started, I would like to go over a little housekeeping to help you get the most out of today's webcast. You'll want to open your group chat widget if you haven't already done so. This is where we can interact with each other during the event and where you can submit your questions for Mike. We find that our audience usually has a lot of good knowledge to share, so we encourage you all to chat freely during the event. However, if you have questions for Mike, please preface them with a capital letter Q so we know that they're for him and we can make sure he sees them for Q&A. You can also open, move, and resize any of the other widgets. If you would like to tweet from the Twitter widget today, you might need to give it permission to access your account. It will automatically append the event's hashtag to your tweet so you don't have to. And today our hashtag is HalseyMike, all one word. If you should have any trouble during the event, please take a look at your help widget. If you continue to have trouble, just post it in the group chat and one of our staff will help you right away. People always ask, so we'd like you to know we are recording today's webcast and we'll have the archive ready usually within 48 hours. And folks, at this time it is my pleasure to turn the program over to Mike for his presentation. Hello, Mike.
Hi, thanks Yasmina. Hi to everybody. I'm told there's people here from all over the world again, so whichever time zone you're in, welcome. I was in the US for the previous couple of weeks, and for the first week of that I was at Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond in Washington State, and that was very interesting. So wherever you are in the world, welcome. Today I'm going to be taking you through being productive in Windows 8, and this means both on the desktop and in the new start screen and with apps, ways to be productive there as well. Because one of the common misconceptions with Windows 8 is that everything in the new start screen is really oversimplified, and you can't do all the power things that you used to be able to do. And I think this is primarily because people look at the new interface and they'll think it's sort of Teletubby-ish or a bit too simplified, but really Windows 8 is as powerful and as configurable as Windows always has been. So I'm going to look at some of that. First thing to do, though, is to show you tell you who I am. And I am a Microsoft MVP, Most Valuable Professional Awardee for Windows, now in my third year of the award. And I'm the author of several books, including the best-selling Windows 8 Out-of-the-Box, which has been very happily sitting on Amazon.com's Windows bestseller list every week since it came out. And it's really cheap, and it's only 120 pages long, and a lot of the tips that are here today are in the book. They're expanded in the book, and there's a whole more lot of tips in Windows 8 out of the box on how to get the best out of the operating system. It's not just about setting it up and using it. There's much more besides. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as Halsey Mike. Nice and easy. They're all exactly the same. Facebook is where most of the action takes place, and YouTube I've got a whole series of help and how-to videos that are going to be greatly expanded in the next few months with live filming I've done at Microsoft headquarters and in New York. So it wasn't just a holiday for me. So that's who I am. So let's dive right in and let's look at one of the first ways to be productive. Now, you can, when you were using Windows of old and you had your desktop icons, they could be programs, they could be files, they could be folders, they could be anything you want. Well, the start screen isn't any different. The start screen, as well as allowing you to pin apps and programs to it, will also allow you to pin files and folders. And you do it in exactly the same way you used to with Windows versions of old, that you simply right-click on the file or on the folder and you select Pin to Start. And that will then pin it to the start screen, and you can arrange it and move it around the same way you organize your tiles and icons on the start screen as per normal. One of the advantages of this is obviously if you're using the start screen. I use the start screen to separate my work life and my home life. As an author and a tech guy, I work almost exclusively on the desktop. No, I do work exclusively on the desktop still because I'm using Office and I'm using video editing software. So I work on the desktop all the time, and I find I almost never see the start screen or any of the apps. But I like to use the start screen and the apps to separate my work life from my home life, because especially when you work from home, as I do, it's just me and the dog staring at me. So I don't want to feel in the evenings as though I'm still at work. So I'll just stay in the start screen in the evenings, and then I'm not looking at any work stuff. And then I'll stay on the desktop during the day, which is very easy to do. But if you do use the start screen a lot and you want to get easy access to files and folders, then this is a great way to do it. Just pin them directly to the start screen itself. When you're actually on the desktop, one of the things that so many people I've encountered never even knew existed is Desktop Snap, formerly called Aero Snap. You might have heard it called Aero Snap in Windows 7, but the Aero glass effect is long gone. And I've got to be honest, I don't miss it. I like the new cleaner view, but that's a personal taste thing. But with Desktop Snap, you can snap two windows to the left and the right of your screen on your desktop, so that they each occupy precisely 50% of the screen. So it's great for copying or moving files between two folders, comparing two different websites, and remember that when you're using Internet Explorer, and I think just about any web browser these days, you can actually tear a tab out of the web browser to create a new web browser window, still with that tab in it, and you can snap this to the left and right. Really good for comparing things like the prices of goods for, let's say, birthday presents, or the prices of hotels on two different hotels websites, and boy did I do a lot of that over the last few months, or many other things. It's really, really useful. At work, you might be working on a document that's a version of an older document, and you want to have the older document open so that you can compare what you're working to. It's really, really useful to do. And you do it simply by dragging each window to either the left or the right of the screen, and you'll see a sort of pseudo image appear on that side of the screen when your mouse cursor hits the left or right, to say that, okay, when you release the mouse, then that window is going to fill exactly 50% of the screen. And it's a really, really good way to increase your productivity. Next up is pinning programs to the desktop taskbar. Now, lots of people, if we go back to the days of Windows XP, it was very common for people to have a desktop that was completely littered with icons, all the programs icons, loads of folders, files, everything, but especially programs all over the desktop. And some people liked working that way. Some people still like working that way. Some people preferred an uncluttered approach. And that's where things like the new Start menu, or new as it was then, in Windows Vista was useful, and Windows 7 was useful because you could pin your programs to the Start menu. Well, now, of course, in Windows 8 we haven't got a Start menu anymore. And one of the best and most effective ways of getting to your desktop programs is to pin them to the desktop taskbar. And you'll remember that I've said that when I work on the desktop, I almost never see the start screen. Then this is how I do it. So you can tap and hold, or right-click on any icon on the start screen or in the All Apps view from the start screen, and you from the app bar you'll see a Pin to Taskbar option for that. If Internet Explorer isn't pinned to the taskbar, you'll find that for that the Internet Explorer app in the start screen, if you right-click on that or tap and hold on that, will actually allow you to pin that to the desktop as well. They've integrated it into the one icon there. So with your icons pinned to the taskbar, you've got quick access to everything. I've got most of the Office programs there. I've got video editing software there, and all sorts of other bits and pieces, media players, Google Earth, and so on and so forth. So that's a really useful way to work. Now, when we're looking at the program icons that we have on the desktop, Jumplists are a really good way of getting benefit from those programs. So when you might open a program and then go to File and go to Open and look for the file that you were working on, or you might open a folder and go and look for the file you were working on. But Jumplists make this process so much simpler that when you open a jump list, there are several ways to do it. You can tap and push up. You can tap and hold. You can right-click on the icon. There's many ways to get into a jump list, and they will commonly show you. They're different for every program, but they will commonly show you the most recently accessed files that you opened with that specific program. And there'll be, as you hover over them, you'll see to their right a little pin icon, and you can pin those files to the jump list so that you can open them directly, quickly, and easily without having to, let's say, have an icon for that file specifically on the desktop. Because if you've got programs open on the desktop, you have to minimize all your programs and then find where you put the icon. If you use the jump list, then you don't need to minimize any programs. It's always there, and it's quick, and it's easy to get access to. So I do recommend that you make the best out of jump lists. Other things you can do with the taskbar, while we're on the subject with jump lists, is you can, in Internet Explorer, and you can do this in Windows 7 as well, you can drag the little icon at the beginning of the address bar in Internet Explorer onto the Windows taskbar and pin that website there. And some websites have their own controls in jump lists. So if you, let's say you open Facebook, I think Facebook does this, the jump list in Facebook can take you direct to your messages, to find friends, to various other places direct from the jump list. So it's a really, really great thing to be able to do with websites as well as programs. Speaking of websites and programs, I want to talk a bit about SkyDrive. Now, SkyDrive is Microsoft's hosted cloud storage service. And for those of you who were, shall we say, early adopters of SkyDrive, you'll have a free 25 gigabytes of storage space, which is lovely. Anyone who's taken up SkyDrive recently will have 7 gigabytes free. And SkyDrive works really well with Windows 8 and with Office 2013 if you're using that. There's an app within Windows 8 that allows you to easily view and open any of the files you've got stored on SkyDrive. Or if you go to skydrive.com, then you'll see down in the bottom left of the window there's a Get SkyDrive Apps or Get SkyDrive Programs link. And if you click that, you can download the desktop app. And the desktop app allows you to not only back up your files to SkyDrive, and you can choose which folders in your libraries are backed up, but it also, because if you run it on multiple Windows 7 and Windows 8 computers, you can also synchronize those files between those computers. I use it to synchronize files between my desktop and my laptop so that I know all of the time, whenever I go to open a file, I'm getting the most recent version of it, no matter what computer I opened it on in the past, no matter whether I edited the document on my smartphone, on my Windows phone, whether I edited the document in the in a browser, at a work environment, or at somebody else's home. That's really useful. Office 2013 will, by default, if you have a SkyDrive account, store all new documents on SkyDrive and not on your own computer. This is for convenience. If you go into the SkyDrive settings, you'll see there's an option here to actually turn that off. Some people find it annoying. If you're using SkyDrive to back up and synchronize your files anyway, then it'll do this on its own. It doesn't need Office 2013 to try and do it for you. And so you can turn that off by right-clicking on the SkyDrive icon and clicking Settings. Some people have found it both annoying and buggy, and it entirely depends on each individual's experience with it. But I recommend SkyDrive. I think it's a great way to back up and synchronize your files. Next up is using Home Group. Now, in even a very small business environment, Home Group can be a very effective way of sharing files and resources between different computers. Home Group is easier to set up than ever before. You'll find it in PC settings, and you can choose exactly what you want to synchronize on that computer between documents, pictures, video, music. And this can be different on each PC. So on one PC you might want to share all of that. On another PC you might not want to share the documents. On another PC you might not want to share the video. Then it's entirely up to you what you share. You can also share printers through it. If you haven't got a newfangled Wi-Fi printer, I inadvertently printed to mine after I got it from a fair few miles from home. Wonder why nothing printed at the time. Came home and was very surprised. If you haven't got a newfangled Wi-Fi printer, then you can share your printer through that. And Home Group is much easier to set up than it ever has been before. If you need more advanced sharing, then you can share individual files or folders by right-clicking on them and selecting Share, or on the ribbon in File Explorer you'll see a new Share tab when something is highlighted. And the Share tab is by far the easiest way to share things these days, because it offers all the controls that you're going to need right there. You've got advanced sharing options, and advanced sharing options allow you to share files and folders on different PCs with, if you want, just specific people. Or you can give them read access but not write access. You can give them read and write access, but you can't allow them, but you can forbid them from deleting the files. There's all sorts of things you can do, and it's worth looking at if you want more advanced sharing options. Then in File Explorer, as I say, then select the file or folder that you want to share, and you'll see a Share tab appear on the ribbon, and all of the controls are in there, and they're very intuitive and very easy to use. One of the things that people have difficulty with when sharing is optical drives, because lots of tablets and lots of Ultrabooks don't come with optical drives. There's simply not enough space for them. But occasionally you might want to read a disk. You might need it to install software from a CD or a DVD, and you can share an optical drive in exactly the same way as you share a regular folder. All you do is you go into its advanced sharing settings, you tell Windows that you want to share the entire drive, you give it a name, probably sort of DVD or Blu-ray drive, and then you can share that drive between all computers in your home or in your office. So let's say, for instance, you want to share a DVD drive on a desktop PC so that you can install software onto an Ultrabook. Then it's easily done. If you've got the network bandwidth to be able to cope with it, there's no reason why you can't share a Blu-ray drive on one computer and watch high-definition movies on another computer directly from that drive. Bearing in mind, you'll need a fair amount of network bandwidth in order to be able to get that to work. But it's easy to share those drives. So you do that exactly the same way, either the Share tab on the ribbon, or right-click on the drive and select Share With, and work through the options there, give it an appropriate name, and you can share it. Now we've looked at sharing. Let's have a look at the actual files themselves. Libraries get a bad rap. They are really useful if the power is harnessed properly. Now, with libraries, they are aggregated storage pots into which you can add other folders so that you can share those folders. And anything you add is automatically added, and when you open the libraries tab will appear on the ribbon, and you can choose the default save location for that library, because the contents of that library might be scattered in multiple folders on your hard drive. They might be on different partitions, a different hard drive. They might even be on network storage. You can't normally add network stores to libraries, but you can do it. There are a couple of ways to do it. There's an advanced way to do it that you'll find primarily used only by IT pros. But the most easily and friendly consumer way of doing it, with pictures, music, and video anyway, is through Windows Media Center. If you have Windows Media Center add-on for Windows 8 Pro, then just adding a music, video, or pictures to their libraries adds them to the main libraries as well. It's a nice little workaround. So there's all sorts of ways that you can work with libraries, and let's look at some of these now. Now, one of these ways is a little libraries offshoot called saved searches. These have been around for years now, but they're not very commonly used, but they're incredibly powerful. What they allow you to do is in each File Explorer window, in the top right-hand corner, you've got a search box. Now, when you click in that search box, it's going to offer you some different search parameters that you can click on, like kind for the file type, or date, or things like this. And you can look online easily for a complete list of Windows 8 search syntax, and you can get these little commands. But it's very intelligent. You just type in it, and it'll search for files. So you could search, for instance, for PowerPoint files written by Mike Halsey. So let's say you search for that, as I think we've got in this example here. And then on the search tab on the ribbon, you can save that search. Now, when you save that search, it's added to your favorite links in File Explorer. And every time you click it, that search is refreshed dynamically and automatically and instantly. You won't even notice it's being done. So that search is always up to date. So it's like having an extra library. So if you want a library of work files created by Dan, or you want a library of just your PDF documents, then this is how you do it. You can't do it directly in the libraries themselves. You can't tell a library to only show Excel files on your computer, but you can tell a saved search to do that. And it's a great way to get all this extra functionality. And in Windows 8, it's been made easier to use because of the new controls on the ribbon. So saved searches are absolutely great. Next is changing the default views that you have in File Explorer. File Explorer has so many different ways, so many different combinations of ways to view files that I wouldn't even think to count them. And there were some great ways. You've got group by, so that you can group files and folders by different parameters, say their size or their type, or or something along those lines. And then you can collapse these groups and expand them so that you can just see certain files that you've got. You can organize images by images or other files by tags or by ratings. You can or have documents organized by tags and by ratings. I'll look at those in a minute. There are so many different ways of viewing and organizing your File Explorer views. I do recommend that you have a good play with all the different ways of doing it, because everyone's going to have their own preferences, but there really are some fantastic options available. So have a good play around with that. As I say, it's on the View tab on the ribbon, and all your options are there. Now, I mentioned tags and ratings, so let's have a look at those. Now, when you import photos into your computer, you will commonly be asked to tag them. And a tag is a bit of metadata. It's a word or words that describe that file or that photo or that piece of music. Let's say in an MP3 file or a music file, your tags are going to be the name of the artist, the composer, the year it was released, things like that. In a photo, it could be the name of your son or daughter, the city or the country that photos were taken in, the name of the event you were at. And with ratings, you've got 1 to 5 stars that you can award to any file, to pretty much any file. So you can say, well, let's make all my favorite photos 5-star, and there's photos here that you really don't like, so we'll make them 1 star. And once you've done this, you can organize and group your files by those tags and ratings. So you can have displays that, and you can see here on the right, there's one that organizes all my photos by the tags that they're in, so that I can say, okay, well, I want photos of when I went to Austria, to Outback in Austria, and I can zoom in, I can open that, and it doesn't matter where on my computer those files are, because they're all tagged the same, they all appear in the same place. Really useful way of being able to do it. And you can create saved searches to look for these as well. Let's say you want a save search that looks for all Word files with a 5-star. As if that's probably not a contradiction in terms, to be honest. I don't think any of us think of Word documents in that way. But you can, and you can save your search. So that's another way in which File Explorer can be immensely powerful and really useful and save you so much time and work. So now we looked at File Explorer, let's look at being on the move. I want to have a look at the Mobility Center. Now, the Windows Mobility Center is more than just a few tools to help people who are on the road or giving a presentation. There's lots of additional things in here. As I say, there's controls for adjusting the brightness, the volume, the battery, the screen rotation, secondary and multiple displays, sync partnerships with business servers, which I'll talk to you about shortly, and presentation mode. Presentation mode is actually really interesting, because if you turn presentation mode on, then all of the alerts that happen within Windows are muted and hidden. So any little, who has given, say in the chat room, who has given a presentation and a little Outlook email alert has popped up saying something embarrassing, saying, it's from the girlfriend, or you've received another spam email about trying to sell you something dodgy. It suppresses all of that. It stops the screensaver from kicking in, so you can carry on chatting about what you need to chat about. It stops a laptop from going to standby after a certain period of inactivity. It's really, really useful in that regard. So have a good look at the Mobility Center, not just on laptops and Ultrabooks, but on tablets as well. There's lots of really useful functions there. But of course, on laptops and Ultrabooks and tablets, one of your top priorities will be wanting to maximize your battery life. So here's my top tips on how to do it. Adjust the screen brightness, so to give you the best compromise between legibility and brightness. You play around with it a little bit. Depending on, you may even have a graphics driver that allows you to control things like contrast and hue and saturation and things as well. So play around to reduce these as much as possible while still having a screen that's really legible. If you've got a keyboard backlight, then that can be set to automatically turn off after just a few seconds, or maybe you don't need it on at all. Maybe you can maybe you have a switch manually on your keyboard to deactivate it completely. There's no real reason why you'd need it during the day, so you can turn it off on your laptop or Ultrabook, and that can save you money as well. In the Mobility Center, there are different battery conservation options, and depending on where you bought your computer from, the company that made it may have included their own as well, and there could be quite a few, but there's about 3 or 4 by default. So you can change the battery conservation option to power saver. If you're not going to be using them, you can turn off your Wi-Fi, your wireless broadband, your GPS, and you won't. These things won't then use power. You'd be surprised how much Wi-Fi and 3G, how much power these things actually use. GPS uses quite a bit of power because they're always on, they're always working in the background, and if you're not using them, then why? Why have them turned on? You may even have a hardware switch on your laptop that allows you to just automatically deactivate all of this. And to extend the life of your battery, don't leave it until it's completely flat before recharging it. When it's about half full, then give it a top up. Because of the way batteries work, this does seem to extend their life slightly. And batteries batteries are very expensive, even if you have a laptop where you can actually remove the battery. But if you need to send your Ultrabook or your tablet away to have the battery replaced by the manufacturer, it's going to cost you even more. So this is a way that you can extend the life of the battery. Next up, I talked about Wi-Fi and mobile broadband, and I spoke earlier about sharing a DVD or a CD or a Blu-ray drive, where you can share your mobile broadband connection as well. If you've got several computers and one of them has, let's say, one of them's plugged in to a network and you haven't got Wi-Fi in that location, if you open the Network and Sharing Center, which you can do by right-clicking on the Wi-Fi or the network icon in the bottom right of the desktop taskbar, or just by searching at the start screen for network, then you can check a little box there to share your internet connection sharing. So that can be really useful in some scenarios. Now, lots of people with Windows work with multiple monitors, and multiple monitor support has been improved with Windows 8 quite substantially, actually. You can now work with multiple monitors directly from the devices panel, devices charm rather, on the right-hand side of the screen when you open the charms. But also there are additional controls for managing the taskbar on multiple screens. You can just have the taskbar on one screen, you can have it on all screens, you can just have the taskbar show the programs that are running on that particular screen to make things easier for you, and there's all sorts of ways you can work with it. You get to these in the taskbar properties by right-clicking on the taskbar and selecting its properties there. Windows 8 also now comes with and fully supports multiple screen wallpapers for the first time. It comes with 2 or 3 widescreen wallpapers that are really good. And this is something I know people have been crying out for about 15 years, but it is at last here. Also, when it comes to displays, lots of computers, Ultrabooks and tablets are now coming with something called WIDI, wireless display, and you can access this from the device's charm as well if your computer supports it, and if you're working in a place where a display or a projector supports it, and it allows you to, with much less hassle than there has been in the past with this sort of thing, to connect your computer to a wireless projector or a wireless monitor, as long as it supports the standard, easily, simply, and without fuss. Connecting to wireless displays previously has been a chore and a bit hit and miss. WIDI makes it easy. So if you're buying a new computer or a new laptop, tablet, or Ultrabook, and you're looking for, you give a lot of talks, for instance, or you use you have a WIDI second monitor, then look for WIDI. It's a very useful thing to facility to have. Now, I mentioned a little while ago synchronizing your files with those on remote computers. And you do this using ActiveSync in the Mobility Center, and this can pull down from a server files that you use commonly on a work server, so that you can work with them locally on your PC. It handles all the syncing and all the updating automatically in the background, and you can manage how much space on your PC is reserved for this, for these files, and you can delete old copies of files, and you have full control over all of this. So if you use your a laptop away from work and you want to be able to still get access to those work files, but you haven't got access to the internet, or you can't log in directly to their network, then this is a way you can do it. And there's one more tip, and this is quite a biggie actually, and this is being able to set the default printer for different places. This is something you can also do in Windows 7. So if you do it there, if you go into the devices and printers panel, which you can search for at the start screen, search for devices or search for printer, then click on a printer to make sure the menu option appears, and then on the options bar across the top of the screen, click Manage Default Printers. In Manage Default Printers, this will pick up, this will display a list of all the networks that you have connected to, be they wired networks, be they wireless networks. And for each of those networks, you can set a different default printer. Now, the next time you connect to those networks, the printer that you have selected will automatically be the printer that you print to. So you haven't got to do any of this, printing and wondering why you're getting an error message or nothing's coming out of the printer. You haven't got to do, as I mentioned earlier, getting a new printer, not realizing properly it was Wi-Fi, and trying to print something about 9 miles away and having it come out at home. Haven't got to do any of that. You can, every time you connect to that network, you will print to the correct printer. It's a great little time saver. So those are my top tips for being productive with Windows 8. We've still got plenty of time for questions Q&A, so keep them coming in. Put a queue, I gather, in front of your questions, so I know. And these are the rest of my webcasts for 2013. We're going to start diving into Windows 8 troubleshooting next month, completely for beginners. And then in May, we'll be looking at diagnosing and repairing more difficult problems. In June, before we take a break for the summer, we'll be keeping our PCs safe, secure, and keeping our family and our business and our files safe and secure. And then back in September with advanced Windows 8 troubleshooting and more besides. So these are always on the first Thursday of each month, so stick with us for that. But now we've got plenty of time for Q&A. Yasmina, what questions do we have?
Yes, Mike, thank you for a great webcast. We do have questions coming in, and folks, you heard we are at Q&A. Please, if you have a question for Mike and what he's been talking to you about, open your group chat widget, type it in, send it in, and we'll answer as many as we have time for. Bill would like to know, he says, I recently used Easy Transfer to move my data to a Windows 8 system. Doing so nearly obliterated my start screen. What should I have done on the Windows 7 system before the transfer to prevent that?
Windows Easy Transfer is designed to be extremely robust. So I can only assume that, when you're saying it's nearly obliterated your start screen, I can only assume that it's removed everything from it, that some sort of glitch has taken place that is probably quite rare. Just using Windows Easy Transfer on its own shouldn't do this, so I wouldn't get too worried about it, apart from the fact that you now have to put everything back on your start screen. I don't. That definitely shouldn't have happened. I think you just were unlucky.
Okay. Next question here is from Juan, and Juan would like to know. He says, do the saved searches refresh when a new file that matches the search criteria have been added?
Yes. Save searches refresh every single time you look at them. They'll refresh with new files, new folders, everything. Information about those files, say the authors or the rating and the tags and whatnot, that will all be updated as well. Save searches really are that powerful. Hardly anybody uses them because hardly anybody knows that they're there, but I cannot recommend them highly enough. I think they're absolutely fantastic. They're really good, for instance, for just finding all the PDF files you've got on your computer. Really useful feature.
Question from Patrick. Will Windows 8 allow me to edit tags on multiple, for example, MP3 files at the same time? Can I edit multiple tag fields at the same time?
Can't edit multiple tags. Well, no, actually, that's not true. You can at the same time in the same way as you can Zune or in any other music thing. If you want multiple tags to be the same, then you can. Not with every file. Certainly, editing the same tag in multiple files is easy. Then all you those files and then right-click properties or open the details panel in File Explorer, and you'll be able to edit the text in there. Bear in mind that if you're looking at different file types, then they might or not all support the same tags, so you might get a situation where the tag you're looking for doesn't appear, or the tags may not appear at all. So that's when you need to do different types of file individually.
Okay, thank you. And looks like our final question is from Daria, and she's asking if you could talk about the start screen again. How do you search from the start screen?
When you search from the start screen, all you have to do is type. And by default, it will search for your apps, your installed apps. So when you're at the start screen, you want to look for all your photo apps. So you just start typing PHOTO, and that will appear. In the top right of the search results, you'll see options to search for your settings or to search for files. So you can tap or click one of those, and you can switch the search for your settings or your files. Alternatively, underneath that will be a long list of the search compatible apps that you've got installed. So let's say you search for, I don't know, border collies. My dog is a border collie, you can guess, can't you? You search for border collies, you click Internet Explorer, and the search results will change to Bing. If you click Photos, then it will display all of the photos that you've got that are tagged with border collie or in a folder called border collie. It works in that way.
Super. Oh, and we do have one other question that just came in from Joanna. She says, is there a way to do the split screen in Windows 8 without being on the desktop? I can get two things up at once, but not the split screen.
I'm not entirely certain what you mean by that. I mean, you can do you've got the desktop snap from the start screen with apps. You can pin apps to the left or the right of the screen, but they only occupy about a quarter of the screen and not half of it. If you want actual more split screen options, sort of virtual screen options, then that would need to be done through a third-party add-in.
Folks, if you do have any additional questions, please send those in so Mike can answer those for you while he's with us. And as we just give it a moment here, I'd like to let you all know I did push out to you Mike's access to his website, The Long Climb. So his URL is right there in the group chat for you. Going there, you can access his Facebook, his Twitter, and his YouTube videos where they really complement all the webcasts. So if you want to see more live, hands-on, and see Mike's face, and he'll be talking directly to you and showing you how to do things, check out his YouTube videos because they are very, very helpful and beneficial. Also, I'd like to let you know we did push out a code to save you all some money as a thank you for attending today's webcast. You can get Mike's Windows 8 book, and if you are still using Windows 7 and contemplating Windows 8, we do have his Windows 7 book as well. So you can get those today at a really, really great price. We do encourage you to take advantage of that and take a look at those. Mike, I'm not seeing any additional questions. So with that, is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with as we say goodbye?
All I would say is don't underestimate the power. Don't underestimate the power of Windows 8. I'm not a mouthpiece or a one merits it really. And also, if you're still, don't forget that a lot of this stuff is well, things like save searches and setting default printers for different networks. They're also in Windows 7. So, if you've got Windows 7 PCs, you can use them in that as well.
Great. Folks, we did push out as well all of Mike's upcoming webcasts with us at O'Reilly. The first Thursday of the month, as you heard Mike tell you about. So we did push out the link to the website so you can register for all of those. And we hope to see you April 4th. Mark your calendar. April 4th, he will be talking to you about troubleshooting Windows 8 for beginners. You don't want to miss that. Mike, thank you again for your time today, for sharing all your knowledge and expertise with us.
That's absolutely lovely. I thoroughly enjoy and look forward to these every single month.
Yay. We like working with Mike, folks. He's fun. He makes learning fun, and I'm sure you all saw that today, and judging by all the comments in the group chat, you did. So we thank you all for attending the webcast, and for those of you that sent in your questions, thank you for the questions, because having those just adds so much more to our events. Folks, this will conclude our webcast today. Goodbye, everybody.